Mornings from 11 to 12 for Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, sponsored by Kuhn Capital Partners in Oak Brook.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with the Wirepoints boys. Wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. And this is just delicious. Oh, man. I know some of you have become skeptical that anyone other than Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, I suppose, in a certain sense, will be held accountable for the depravity that took place on his island and elsewhere, this trafficking operation or sex slave operation, this exploitation of young women, and including ostensibly underage women, girls, so pedophilia, of which Epstein was convicted effectively. I know you think that all hope is lost, but I'm here to tell you it's not. You know why? Because Illinois lawmakers have filed legislation that would create the Illinois Epstein Files Investigation Commission. Oh, my gosh. The level of self-importance and self-delusion, the two are twinned, of course, among these dopes that were sent down collectively. No, excuse me, the noblemen and magistrates, the deep thinkers, the dynamic policy gurus and people of great accomplishment in a variety of fields. Yeah, right. A bunch of nitwits Earl-shibed into looking somewhat consequential, to borrow from Dennis Miller. Oh, my. I mean, just to listen to this high-minded bull jive from legislators. The Illinois Epstein Files Investigation Commission, bipartisan. Oh, boy, I can't wait till they get to work. Look out, all you international men of mystery and disrepute. The Illinois General Assembly is coming after you. Well, hey, actually, the timing's pretty good. Maybe they can start right at the top in this state. Jelly Belly implicated as traveling with Slick Willie on the Lolita Express. How about that?
When you took these flights, you're saying a lot of them were on behalf of your foundation or your charitable work, correct?
Yes.
Who did you normally bring on these flights? I assume, employees of the foundation, whatever.
I brought people who work with me, especially people who would have to follow up on the fundraising or people who were involved in my AIDS work. I bought people who...
Just like I never go anywhere alone. You never went anywhere alone, right?
What? No.
We always have an
and I had the Secret Service with me. And then on occasion, I had people who had volunteered to help us and wanted to see what we were doing. Right. For example, I think it was on one of these trips, I think, that I had my first trip for the man who's now the governor of Illinois, JB Pritzker, and his wife. They helped me get started.
For more on this, pleased to be joined by Mark Glennon, founder of Wirepoints.org. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Dan. And you started the right way by playing the transcript. That's the fairest way to start looking at this. I think you have to hear it. On the one hand, the only thing that can be said positive on behalf of Pritzker is that Clinton did express lack of certainty, but what I find curious is how quickly he got to the point of mentioning Pritzker. As you can see in that transcript, he was talking categorically about what kinds of people he traveled on the plane with, but then without prompting, voluntarily started naming a name, and it was JB Pritzker's.
Yeah, very interesting. I guess he's not the Clintons' candidate in 28.
Strange. And then we look at the kind of sort of denial that came out from Clinton's office. He issued a statement, as you may know, that says, no, that Clinton was just talking about flights for the foundation. It wasn't Epstein's plane. Well, boy,
that's not what he was. That's not what he was talking about. That's not what he was asked about. Yeah, right.
I mean, that's especially Clinton is anything except stupid, even with his age, and he knew what this questioning was about. I don't think he missed the point of that question at all.
So what? I mean, we need to hear from JB. I mean, I don't want to hear like the blackjack excuse. He just got lucky. I want to hear, what you were on the plane. Tell us about all the great philanthropic work that you and MK were traveling to do, and what you did, what you saw Bill Clinton doing, what the interactions were with Epstein, what those were like. I mean, tell us all about it. Give us the slideshow of your vacation on the Lolita Express, right?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get some follow-up questions from on Clinton too. Like, well, did you then see him at the island afterwards? After being on the plane with him, that would be interesting to know.
He probably was just happy he didn't have to share a hot tub with him.
In the flight logs too. This is a frustrating matter. As I understand it, we don't have direct access to the flight logs, but there have been leaks about what they contain that have been dumped on accusations about Trump. But I don't know what they say about that. So I'm keeping an open mind about this, but it sure stinks to me so far. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure those nimble-minded Illinois legislators will get to the bottom of this.
They've got a commission.
Yeah, no, I know.
Just pointed out.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm impressed.
Who's going to appoint the commission? Governor Pritzker. And you got to read the Capital News Illinois has a more detailed story out about this bill with all the wonderful quotes and the sanctimony from the Democrats about wanting to get to the bottom of these horrible wrongdoers. The Illinois connections to the scandal. Mm-hmm. So, geez.
Something else too. I know crime is down because Pritzker and Brandon Johnson tell us so, but it's not on the CTA. It's not. Aggravated assaults and batteries, 24-year high last year. And probably because of stories like this. Chicago man is accused of robbing a Red Line passenger last week while on electronic monitoring for robbing another CTA passenger last year. Incredibly, he was on electronic monitoring at the time of the last robbery last year as well. Electronic monitoring, robbery, electronic monitoring, robbery, and you just rinse and repeat. Maybe that's why you see the spike in crime on CTA.
Yeah, and it's really good to see that we're starting to dig down into the details of where the crime is on the CTA. That's a big one because the working class has to rely on this. This is probably why despite these overall drop numbers in crime, you have a lot of people saying, what drop in crime? I'm still scared to death. It's because they got to go on travel on these things to get to work. And, this goes to the problem of empty offices in Chicago and Chicago's other problems. You got to have a safe transit system. And I'm really glad somebody's starting to focus on this specifically.
I wanted to get your take. We talked about this a bit yesterday with our friend Chris Whalen from New York, because this is not limited to Chicago, or Illinois, but this whole affordable housing, I would call Section 8, this whole push for, Section 8 2.0 here, the zoning overhaul, the subsidies sure to follow to build quote-unquote affordable housing to deal with the quote-unquote housing affordability crisis.
Yeah, people got to wake up to this. This hasn't gotten the attention that it has, but usurping local government's authority over zoning is a very dangerous trend, and you can trash a lot of suburbs real quickly with this kind of nonsense. And by the way, the most interesting story about that is Minneapolis, which implemented this kind of rule. And there's probably 7 or 8 years ago, and there's a Federal Reserve study that says you didn't get any results, and the primary the one supposedly good result is that rents drop, but they say, well, yeah, rents drop because there's no demand. Nobody wants to live in the areas anymore. The suburbanites especially better wake up to this and kill this proposal fast.
Well, it's interesting because the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, which represents about 275 munis across northeast Illinois, are jittery, and it's not just the well-heeled enclaves either, like the North Shore. They're jittery about this. I mean, it has a feeling like the housing version of the Safety Act, where you're going to come in over the top and the suburbs are going to be left to fend for themselves, because the idea is, as we saw when the projects came down and they scattered Section 8 housing around Chicagoland, disproportionately the Southland, which destroyed a lot of those communities. Certainly that was part of it. That's what you have suburbanites. The suburbs have been having these fights on a one-off basis from quote unquote affordable housing advocates in upscale communities, and that want to do something like that, basically have subsidized housing in the community, and there's fights at the local level. But what this would do is provide statewide cover and essentially reinforcement for what the leftists have tried to do at the local level with respect to subsidized housing. I mean, basically you're talking about subsidized housing being spread throughout Chicago Metro. That's what this is aimed to do.
Yeah, and often the attention is focused on those high-end neighborhoods. They're accusing them of being NIMBYs. These rich people
right.
don't want to coming. But that's one of the other criticisms of these programs, is that the real impact is in working class, solid neighborhoods. That's where these people wake up and suddenly find that they've got a multi-family structure going in a lot on their block, with Section 8 tenants. And those are the people that are most impacted.
Mark Glennon, founder of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things policy related, Illinois policy related. Mark, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Yep.
And Mark joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.